On October the 31st of 1980, a white female believed to be between the ages of 15 and 20 arrived in Huntsville, Texas. She was alone, but seen by several civilians that also talked to her while she was here. One of the locations of which she was seen or observed was a truck stop just located just north of here in a restaurant. At this location, she talked to a couple of employees and asked for directions to the Ellis prison farm, and was provided with written directions. During this conversation, she told the individuals that she had spoke with that she was actually from the Rockport Aransas Pass area. On Saturday, November the 1st, 1980, at approximately 9:20 a.m., Walker County Sheriff's Office deputy responded to a call of a body located on the shoulder of Interstate I-45, just north of Huntsville, about a half of a mile south of the 1696 exit. The body had been reported by a citizen to have been located. The cause of death was later determined to be due to asphyxia, due to strangulation by ligature per the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office. The initial portion of the investigation was focused around identifying the victim and determining any possible relationship she may have had with the Texas Department of Corrections. Employees and inmates at this unit were interviewed with negative results. No additional information to proceed with the investigation at that point. A search of missing persons report revealed that there was no leads or media reports on the case, and no additional information as well, resulted in no positive information concerning the victim's identity. Investigators also traveled to the Rockport Aransas Pass area and interviewed law enforcement and school officials with negative results again. With this being the 41st anniversary of this horrible crime taking place, I would at this point in time like to reveal the fact that our victim has been identified. Sherri Ann Jarvis, date of birth 3/9 of 1966. And she was from Stillwater, Minnesota.
Well, there'll be pictures down there as well.
In July of 2020, Detective Bean, along with other detectives, Texas Ranger Dolittle, the Orphan Labs, and Orphan Labs were authorized to begin forensic DNA testing in an attempt to form a DNA profile from tissue samples that were taken from the original autopsy. Orphan Labs was able to obtain a DNA profile, and the samples were used to start building a family tree. In March of 2021, Orphan Labs provided Detective Bean with what they believed to be 6 people that were either direct relatives of Jane Doe or they were possibly aunts or uncles. Detective Bean, with the assistance of Detective Phelps, were able to utilize internet resources to finish building out the family tree. While doing so, detectives were able to locate information on all but one of the family members, that individual, and it was discovered that she had actually run away in 1980 and was 14 years of age. DNA samples were obtained from biological family members and turned over to Orphan Labs to be compared to the DNA sample from Jane Doe with a match, finding a match. All of the evidence was then compiled and released to the Harris County Institute of Forensic Science, where they confirmed the fact that we had an identity on Jane Doe as being Sherri Jarvis. I never like to refer to this case as being a cold case. It has always been a top priority of our department. We loved her as well. I would like to thank the Sheriff's Office, the Criminal Investigative Division, as well as the lead detective at this time being Tom Bean, for his drive and determination to not give up, as well as the partnerships that we have had assistance from, being the Texas Rangers, Federal Bureau of Investigations, Harris County Institute of Forensic Science, Orphan Labs, and the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, and the past Sheriff's Office investigators that have spent many hours, many days, many months on never quitting and keeping this case alive.
At this time, we'd like to hear from Orphan Lab. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm David Middleman from Othram, and we did the lab work to support the investigation. So there are a whole bunch of cases, unfortunately, just like this one, of folks that are unidentified. They're not going to be found in a traditional government database. This is a victim, so not someone that would have been tracked as a criminal or someone that had done something in the past. And what we do at Othram is we go back and re-examine for contemporary and also for these older cases, any evidence that's available. This case was incredibly complex, and there was a lot of work across multiple agencies to find evidence that was suitable for us to do the work we had to do. And so that shouldn't be forgotten. There's so much investigative work that precedes us being able to even do anything with evidence. But we were very fortunate in that we were able to secure some evidence that helped us steer to her identity. And what we do is we can take evidence that is very old, DNA that's been previously unsuitable or unusable in other methods and traditional testing processes, and we can pull genetic information, markers and such from this evidence, and use that, as you've heard from the sheriff, to build out long distance relationships. And in the case of someone like Sherri, for which there was really no evidence at the scene and no good clues, and she was so far away from home, and no one here locally in Huntsville would have known who she was, we were able to establish the long distance genetic relationships to folks that ultimately then were able to help us identify who she was. And I just want to say, as a parting point, this is technology that's very robust, and if you followed any of the work we've done, there's a whole bunch of cases here in Texas and elsewhere that are being sorted out now with successful outcomes like this one. So I think this technology is very general. You'll see it all the time. I always tell folks that it's an extraordinary opportunity anytime we can help name somebody, but I hope in the next few years it goes from extraordinary to ordinary, and this is just a routine thing. And I just want to double down on what the sheriff said. In this particular case, every case is different. In this particular case, there was a lot of complexities to getting the case off the ground, and it just was not possible without, obviously, Tom Bean and the Walker County Sheriff's Office, but also just tremendous behind-the-scenes support from the Houston FBI office and from the Rangers, and all of us have worked together on other Texas cases, and so just could not be more grateful to be in such a good group of folks.
Sir, could you spell your name and your company name, please?
Yes, sir. My name is David Middleman, Mittleman, and I'm the CEO of Othram, which is Othram.
Thank you, sir.
This time, we'd like to hear from Agent White, Federal Bureau of Investigation.
I want to just thank our partners in this, Walker County Sheriff's Office, Texas DPS, Harris County Office, DA's office, as well as the Forensics Lab. This is an extraordinary case, as the sheriff said, and we putting resources together and using technology to solve some of our older cases that we have. This is going outside the norm of traditional law enforcement techniques, but here at the FBI, across the country, we're using this technique to try to help state and local officials solve some of the older cases that they have. Not just for the sheriff's office, but to bring closure to a family, to find the victim and to find the offenders who prey on our innocents, just like in Sherri's case. Again, we will continue working with our partners, continue working with the private sector, as Orphan mentioned, to bring some resolution to the family. And as far as the Houston FBI is concerned, we're going to be here every step of the way. We're committed to this. Houston FBI has been named as a hub for the investigative genealogy technique that we used on this case. With that, I'll turn it back to Sherri.
Thank you, sir. Ranger, you want to say something?
I would just thank the sheriff's department, thank the FBI, Othram, the DA's office, everybody working together collectively to try to find resolutions and answers for these unsolved investigations. So we thank everybody for that.
Durham, District Attorney of Walker County.
Yeah, Will Durham with the Walker County District Attorney's Office. I was a child in 1980, just running around Huntsville. I remember when this happened. I'm just real pleased with all the work that's been done and the investigation and the technology that's advanced to the point where we're able to identify this young girl. And from a prosecutor's perspective, I just hope that this information will lead us to whoever did this, and if they are alive, they'll be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Thank you.
At this time, we'd like Deputy Wells to read a statement from the family. Then at the conclusion of this, we'll go into and answer questions.
Good morning, Deputy Wells, and last name is spelled W-E-L-L-S. I'll be sharing with you guys the official release from the family of Sherri Jarvis. We would like to extend our sincere appreciation to Detective Thomas B. and all the cooperating agencies and people involved in identifying Sherri Ann Jarvis' remains. We would also like to express our gratitude to Morris Memorials for donating Sherri's headstone and all the people who visited her burial site throughout the years. We lost Sherri more than 41 years ago, and we've lived with the bewilderment every day since, until now, as she has finally been found. We contacted the Salvation Army and hired a private investigator in an attempt to locate her, but to no avail. The dedication of the aforementioned people led to our reunion with Sherri and provided a long-awaited, painful answers to our questions and on her whereabouts. Sherri Ann Jarvis was a daughter, a sister, a cousin, and a granddaughter. She loved children, animals, and horseback riding. She was a tender 13 years of age when the state removed her from our home for habitual truancy. Sherri never returned to our home as promised in a letter we received from her shortly after her departure. She was deprived of so many life experiences as a result of this tragedy. She was denied the opportunity to experience romance and love and marital bliss, the heartache and the pain of loss, the pure joy of having children or growing old and being able to reflect on some milestones afforded on a bounding lifetime. Our parents passed away never knowing what happened to her or having any form of closure, but we are grateful that they never had to endure the pain of knowing her death was so brutal. We take a measure of comfort in knowing that she has been identified, and where she is located so we can pay our respect at her final resting place. We will continue to support those seeking her killers because she did not deserve the death she received, and justice served to those who would commit such heinous act would be fitting tribute to Sherri. We love and miss you, Sherri, very much. You are with Mom and Dad now, Sherri. May you rest in peace.
Detective James, would you like to say something?
I just want to say thank you to everybody involved, the FBI, Orphan Labs, the sheriff for allowing me to investigate this case, the Texas Rangers. This wouldn't have been available. We wouldn't have been able to do this without everybody that's standing up here. Everybody that's here has been great. The family's been great. I'm happy that this is finally coming to a conclusion on this portion, and now we're going to get into finding out who did this to Sherri, and that's going to be one of the things that I'm looking forward to in finishing out my career here.
Again, as we've stated, we could not have put this together without the members of this team. You can't get anywhere without it. I'm so appreciative. I'm very appreciative of y'all being here today as well, and help us get this information out so that people do realize the fact that we are, when a case gets older, it's not just going away. It's forever. And we're going to continue to work on it as long as we can Fortunately, we now have the victim identified, so appreciative of that. We still have a lot of work to do, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Oh, you could spell Sherri Ann and then confirm it was Stillwater, Minnesota, you said?
Stillwater, Minnesota.
Her name is spelled SHERRIANNJARVIS.
Perfect, thank you.
Question in the back?
Yeah, you said you currently are now trying to find the suspect who did this to her. Do we have any leads on that as of right now?
We are working on everything. This is still an ongoing investigation, and we will follow through with everything that we can in order to identify the person who's responsible for this.
Did you ever find a tie to the Ellis unit? You said she was looking for the Ellis unit.
At this time, we have found no ties. Back in the day, they interviewed every employee, they interviewed every inmate that was there. Actually, Crime Stoppers has put up a reward, and there has never been anything that's come forward.
So family didn't know of anyone that could have been up there or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
sir. Like,
Do you mind reminding us again in relation to where we are now, how far outside of town she was found on I-45, or just the general area where her remains were found?
just north of the 118, about a mile and a half, is about a mile south of the FM 1696 exit.
Okay.
So just kind of north of Huntsville, but not way out. It's, even in the 80s, it was still kind of close to town. Yes, sir.
I notice a lot of the times we hear the term no stone was left unturned when talking about finding who this person was. For the investigation right now, what are the steps taking place as of today?
There are multiple steps taking place. I can't really go into those. There's other investigations that are very similar to this that have happened within the state of Texas, so we're working with those agencies and trying to identify a suspect in those as well. We're also backtracking and talking to family members and trying to find out exactly where Sherri was, and we're going to try to find any connection that we can in those locations as well.
And that's part of this partnership that you see up here. We're all going to be pulling together and working together. Again, there's things that we can't get into, but there is new information that has come developed after the identity of Sherri has been known. But we're going to rely on this partnership, and we all come together. It's a force multiplier. Yes, ma'am.
Was she reported missing in Minnesota, and if so, when?
She was reported missing in Minnesota. It would have been in the 1980s when she ran away. She actually was not in her family's custody when she ran away. So it would have been the agency that actually had custody of her at the time that reported her. Unfortunately, we're unable to find that because the records have been purged since then.
Just anything more I'd like to say on having a little bit of closure on this. Obviously, still need to find her killer, but we heard the statement from the family as the deputy read. But just for you guys staying on this case for so many years now, from 1980 to now, just I'm sure you'll have a little bit of satisfaction that we know one more piece of the puzzle on this.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The first thing you have to do in order to solve a crime is you have to know who your victim is. In order to find out and try to create suspects and things of that nature, and to pursue your investigation, you got to know what direction to go. So that's one of the first things that you do in any criminal investigation is you've got to try to identify your victim in order to proceed.
You said new technology or technique was used in this. How old is that technology or technique?
So a lot of the work that, so our company started in 2018. The techniques we actually, the techniques we used in this case, actually some of them were developed in the course of this actual case and are about a year old. And so I think it's important to note the technology is new. 5 years ago, they would have been nowhere to do this kind of work. But not only that it is new, but it is accelerating maybe every 6 months. And I think you'll see a larger and larger number of cases that can be included in this technique next year and the year after. So it's very exciting, but it's also very new. And so it will take some time. It will not instantly deploy to all cases.
Can you go into detail what that technique is?
Yeah, we use a process, it's called forensic grade genome sequencing. And it's a big fancy word that basically means that we can take forensic material that ordinarily wouldn't be suitable for this kind of DNA testing, and we can basically prepare that DNA such that we can read information from it. So it's being able to unlock information, investigative leads from crime scene evidence. It's just previously been locked away. And so it's cause for optimism. There's probably, as you heard, dozens of other cases, some related, some not, that may have evidence that has been intractable in the past. And with this rapid acceleration of technology, we can go back now and re-examine cases that have been deemed unsolvable or cold and see if now there's technology that can access that information. And it's a real testament to investigators, by the way, who in the 80s probably did not anticipate any of the folks up here standing and doing what we're doing, to have done the work necessary to, as they do with all cases, to preserve, document, and catalog all the evidence at a crime scene. So also exciting as well. Yeah.
Any other questions? Again, there's no more questions. Thank you all very much for coming. There will be a copy of the statement from the family up here on the table, as well as photographs, and I'll be around the room if you have anything. Again, thank you so much for everyone's time coming.